Hello, you guys. This is Yvette, and I wanted to come and speak to you about the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia. And I aired a video on my other channel. I'm going to air it on this channel too, called White-splaining. It was actually meant for this channel, but I figured it'd be more suited for my main channel. And I talked about how they stay on code for their own. And this example of what's going on in Virginia is clear evidence of that, despite the pretend outrage that they claim to be having over what Virginia's governor has been outed as, which is a racist. But I already knew he was a racist, so that's no surprise. But they do not want this black man to become governor of Virginia. And honestly, if they oust Virginia's governor, it would be an amazing thing, because on a purely aesthetic level, replacing a racist with a black governor, when we have no black governors in all of the United States right now, would be amazing, just for aesthetics, just for morale of our people. Now, past that, I'm not going to say that he's perfect. Okay, Justin Fairfax is not perfect. But what I will say is this. When they honor racist in the Virginia Congress, he doesn't come to work. He refuses, and he makes it public why he's not going. When he was sworn in, he carried a document, the document that freed his great-great-grandfather, in his pocket. So he has some sense, and he also knows how to handle the moves these white people are making. So they had kept something in their pocket on him. They didn't bring it out, which was a false allegation that was made against him based on a consensual sexual encounter. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was a white woman, but it could be a black woman. They snuffed it out before he took office, but they kept it in their pocket so that they could pull it out and have something to manipulate him with later. I want to go ahead and just play the clip of him speaking on this issue. And let's be clear, this is likely copyrighted material. I'm going to be using it for fair use purposes, for commentary, teaching, and news reporting. And that's for YouTube, because they like to play games.
We want to turn your attention to Richmond, Virginia now, where moments ago the state's Lieutenant Governor, Justin Fairfax, addressed the controversy surrounding Governor Ralph Northam, who is refusing calls to step down over a racist photo that appeared on his medical school yearbook page. Let's listen in.
Hey, everybody. Hi, how are y'all? Well, to see you.
Lieutenant Governor,
yes.
what you supposed to publish a report from a woman who says that you sexually assaulted her back in 2000. What's your response to that allegation?
The allegation is completely false, as was indicated in our statement. And if you read through the story, you'll see it's completely uncorroborated.
I love his poker face. Like, he didn't flinch. He didn't so much as flinch.
And the fact that they would run a story on an uncorroborated allegation from now 15 years ago tells you exactly what this smear is all about. And so we have laid out our facts in our case. In fact, this person a year ago came to the Washington Post with this very same allegation. They investigated it for several months, and then they made the decision not to publish the story because it was not credible, because it was uncorroborated, and what we know is that it's false and defamatory. And so this person then went into hiding and laid low in the weeds, and then the second that this issue popped up here in Virginia, and there's a lot of media attention, crops back up with the same false allegation and uses others to get it out into the mainstream of the media. But what I know is that the truth is 100% on our side. I read the Bible, Ephesians 6:11 this morning, and I put on the full armor of God, and that allows us to deal with the devil's schemes and tricks. And
He put on the full armor of God, y'all, and he's ready to deal with the devil. And you can see he's surrounded by a bunch of devils right now. So it's good he's got his armor on. It is good he has his armor on, and it's nothing like calling out the devil. Just letting the devil know that you know what you're dealing with. And I'm going to call you out by name to really put this in perspective.
Again, to have someone manipulate the press and to come out a year ago, fail at getting that into the media, then go away, and then when they think they have an opportunity and maximum media attention point, to come back again with the same false uncorroborated allegation, tells you everything you need to know about the falsity of it, about the person who is making the allegation, and also about the environment that we're in. And what we really have to do, what I'm really focused on right now at this moment, is critical juncture in history. 400 years commemorating the meeting of this assembly, 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were brought.
And I want to point that out too. The timing of this is so good, and it would just be great to commemorate 400 years since the first slave landed. The first slave body was placed in Virginia. To commemorate that with the removal of a racist and replacing him with a black governor and a black family as the head and first family of Virginia.
To the Commonwealth of Virginia, Hampton, and Point Comfort, we are at a moment in history where we have to choose. And we have to decide whether or not we're going to rise to the better angels of our nature, or if we're going to allow attacks and smears and the worst aspects of our politics to govern. And I have chosen to rise. I have chosen to be positive. I have never had to tear anyone down in my life, and never would, because that is my character. And so I will be 40 years old next month, and I have lived 40 years and accusation-free. And there's a reason for that. And there's also a reason that at the moment, when people see what's going on in the Commonwealth of Virginia, they see our politics in a little bit of a flux and a very serious situation that's going on, and they think that there's a possibility that I might be elevated to the governorship. It's at that point that they come out with the attacks and the smears. And it's unfortunate, it really is, but it's sadly a part of our politics now. But I am someone who was raised by incredible parents. Particularly, I was raised by a strong woman. I am married to one, and now I'm raising one in my 7-year-old daughter. And so I hugged my kids today, and I dropped them off at school as we normally do.
I love how he's kind of like a snake charmer, okay? Because normally they bombard you with questions and things, and he's being very verbose, but it's keeping them in check. It's keeping their questions and their behavior in check. He's like a snake charmer. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
Hugged my wife, gave her a big hug and a big kiss. I love her very deeply. And my family is strong. My faith is incredibly strong. My faith in God is unshaken. We will not only deal with this smear as we've dealt with so many other attacks over time, but we've always, when we've been attacked, been elevated. Every single time someone is attacked, whether it's a lie.
Translation, his haters make him greater.
Whether it's a smear, a political attack, a personal attack, a character assassination attempt, we've always not only gotten through it, but we have been elevated. And my faith in God is so strong, and I know that the facts will show exactly what we have borne out.
How would you describe the relationship? How would you describe the relationship? What relationship?
What relationship in this?
With this woman?
It's someone who I met in 2004 at the Democratic National Convention, and as I mentioned, I told all this to the Washington Post at the time, a year ago, and there's not one fact that I gave to them that they were able to contradict.
Can you tell us what happened? What is it?
Sure. I met her at the convention. We met and talked, and
I like how he is so forthcoming. No shenanigans, no BS. He knows he's above reproach. You can't help but like him. I'm always leery about blacks leading anything because I feel like they like to put a lot of talking heads that aren't black They just look black up. But I like his attitude. Now, for the rest of the Virginia Black Caucus, I can't say. All right. Some of them are very questionable people. But this brother, I'm with.
I know her prior to. I was 25 years old, unmarried, a campaign staffer at the time, and we hit it off. She was very interested in me, and so eventually at one point we ended up going to my hotel room. This is in 2004. She was, very much into, consensual encounter, and she even admits in the story there's consensual activity going on. And again, I have children, so I'm going to be very circumspect about what I say. But everything was 100% consensual, and not only that, the same person called me sometime later and wanted to meet with me, wanted to come visit me. I was still in law school, at Columbia Law School, wanted to come to New York City to meet with me, wanted me to meet her mother. And said that years later, months later in this case, and years later now, we have a totally fabricated story out of the blue that's meant to attack me because of where I am in politics. The fact that it only came up once I won. Remember, I have run for office before. I ran in 2013 in a primary statewide. I ran in 2017 in a primary statewide. I ran, of course, in the general and won. It was only at the point that I won that this person fabricates this claim and then attempts to, again, get it into the media. And when they fail the first time to get it into the media, comes back around a year later at another point of maximum media attention, and once again tries to get it in through some website and some people who we know who are involved in this. And so no one who's telling the truth operates in that way. I have nothing to hide, and yet to have someone manipulate the media, if you were telling the truth, there's no reason that you would go away for a year once you fail to get it into the Washington Post and then come back later, again, with zero corroboration whatsoever. And there's no corroboration because that did not happen. There was no inappropriate contact whatsoever. And so,
but my you did have a sexual relationship with her in the room, but it was consensual. Is that a correct description of what happened?
Just as I described to the Post, absolutely.
Sir, can you say definitively, should the governor resign?
Can I say definitively?
Yes. Can you make it?
I've made my statement on that. I believe that the governor has to make the decisions in the best interest of the Commonwealth of Virginia. And I know that there are many others who have called on him to resign. I believe that I'm in a unique position, obviously, as Lieutenant Governor and someone who would have to assume that office in the event that he were to resign. And so I have to be very circumspect. I have to think about the people of the Commonwealth of Virginia. I have to think about the Commonwealth itself. People can say, whatever they'd like, and I've made my statement, on that front. Again, I believe the governor has to make a decision that's in the best interest of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
For those of you who don't know what his statement was, I have no statement, okay? His statement was he wasn't about to say yay or nay, and that was a smart move of him.
Would you be ready? Sorry, I'll take a couple more.
What conversations have you had?
Paul, do you have proof of a text or emails that you just referred to where she's asking you to come to New York to meet her mother?
It was a phone call, as I mentioned.
Okay.
Yeah, they contacted me. No, and in fact, it's a great question. There were no texts, there were no emails that were produced to us by the Washington Post, by this person, because it simply didn't happen. Furthermore, you all will see more information, and I'm all about the information.
That's a dumbass question. Now, some of you might be bizarre and weird, but how many people keep texts and emails for 15 years? If you're doing something like that, you're on some weird, well, maybe an email, because the email could be archived for long, but like a text? Really? 15 years? If you keep a text for 15 years, you are on some shenanigans. Like, there's a problem there.
Being made public, but in the course of our initial discussions with the Washington Post, we showed them ample evidence of the inconsistencies in the story, including there's a video of this person from about 12 years ago talking about sexual assaults that had happened to her, talking about her history, saying that we needed to make sure that we were loud about these things and came out in public. And yet, and she also talked about having been in Boston and worked at a rape crisis center at the time of this encounter. And yet, in that video, never says a word about having been assaulted in Boston, about having been assaulted as an adult, or about having been assaulted by me.
You don't have proof that after the encounter, you guys stayed in touch in any way.
No, like I said, it was a phone call. And again, this is 14 years ago. And in fact, when we first were, this thing was not only from left field, it's from planet Mars, because it didn't happen. in the way that is described. And so, we looked for ways to try to get if there were emails or texts. Again, the fact that there were none. There was zero presented to the Washington Post, and they admit even the story that they just ran that it was uncorroborated. How many elected officials? How many elected officials? How many? Hold on 1 second. How many elected officials in the Commonwealth of Virginia have ever been smeared in this way with a completely uncorroborated story and
Have you seen her
allegation?
since Boston?
I can't hear you.
Have you seen her since Boston?
I don't believe I have.
Spoken to
Do
her?
you think the Senate? Do you think the lawmakers should come? Do you think she should come here and tell her story publicly in front of lawmakers?
Anyone is free to speak up and to be heard. I think it's important that people are heard. This issue is a very important one, which is frankly precisely why it's such a shame that this has been weaponized and used as a smear, because this is a very real issue. And I'm someone who has treated women with respect and always observed certain decorum. And so again, I think everybody should be heard. But here's what's very important. She was heard by the Washington Post, and the Washington Post didn't believe her because they did not play the story.
About collective PACs or collective PAC, they said that you believe that the governor's team is spreading misinformation about your team. Can you comment on that, please, sir?
The collective PAC has made its statement, and so
Do you believe it?
I don't know precisely where this is coming from. We've heard different things, but here's the thing: does anybody think it's any coincidence that on the eve of potentially my being elevated, that's when this uncorroborated smear comes out?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, he handles them so well. He said, does anybody believe that it's just coinkadink, that on the eve of me taking the place of a racist, all of a sudden there's a Me Too moment? Nobody thinks that's weird? The Washington Post, they couldn't corroborate it, so they randomly printed it and said they couldn't corroborate it on the eve of it. Why would they bother to print this? Why would they bother to bring it up again? That's the question. And then this woman, please don't let her be a white woman. And then there's this woman. We better never see this woman's face.
Believe that's a coincidence? I don't think anybody believes that's a coincidence. Again, particularly with something. This was not the first time this was brought up. It was a year ago. This was brought up. And yet the Post, who investigated it for 3 months, dropped the story, did not do it, and they did not do it because it was uncorroborated, and it's uncorroborated because it's not true. And so it goes away for a year, and then crops back up right at this moment. You don't have to be cynical. You don't have to understand politics to understand when someone's trying to manipulate a process to harm someone's character without any basis whatsoever. And again,
I love his straightforwardness. We have to learn to be straightforward. He's being nicer than I would about it, but he has, he might be the governor at some point. But to call it for what it is, the devil is a lie, okay? It's like I put on the armor of God to deal with the devil, okay? And he's making it clear that this is obviously a setup. You would have to be retarded to not see what this is. To not see this for exactly what it is, which is an attempt to make sure that a black man does not crawl up under this white racist and take an office in a state where they simply just don't like black people.
I've lived my life in a way that I'm proud of. I've put myself up for election to the people of Commonwealth of Virginia multiple times. You never in the course of any campaign I have ever run had anything said like this about me. And again, I'm someone who grew up in a tough environment in Northeast Washington, D.C. But because people invested in me, I went to Duke University, Columbia Law School. I was on the law review at Columbia. I was a federal prosecutor. I have been through 2 FBI background checks in my life. I got a top secret security clearance, and I've been an attorney, a federal prosecutor, and now I'm a partner at a law firm and sitting as the Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia.
Can you just tell us what you've done to
Reason why Governor Northam is taking his time in resigning?
I have no idea what the governor's thinking is on that front. You have to ask him.
When was the last time you spoke with him directly?
It was probably a couple of days ago.
What about your date last night?
I would have to check and see. Sorry.
Was it Saturday after the press conference? You talked to him after the
I don't know. I don't think I have. I'd
What
have
did
to
you
double
meet
check
with the
it.
governor about last night, sir?
I did not meet with him. That was actually an incorrect report. I was actually in Northern Virginia with my family, and again, that's a very important point. Facts matter, and so just because something is reported does not mean it is true. And that was one prime example. It was verifiable that I was with my family yesterday. And I just came to Richmond.
Do you think it's in the best interest of Virginia for you to ascend to the governorship, and what have you done to prepare for that?
See, this is how they play games. He won't speak on if he thinks, now we're going to see if he takes the bait, but see, he won't speak on if he thinks the governor should step down. He won't speak on that issue. So they're trying to come at him from different directions because, see, they want to turn it into a fight. They want to have some fodder for their programming that they put on for all of these people that like to engage in this programming. I hope he doesn't take the bait. Now, he seems very clever, so I'm thinking he's not about to.
Specific details, sir.
Well, listen, I'm the Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, elected by 1.36 million Virginians. They put their trust and their faith in me to serve in that role, and I have honored that trust and faith.
Staff members, discussions?
I'm sorry?
With your staffers, with your discussions, what you would do on day one if you are ascended to that position?
Look, like I said, there's a lot of uncertainty right now in our government, but we always have to be prepared to assume our roles and responsibilities that are given to us by the Virginia Constitution. This is not something that anyone formulated in terms of how this process proceeds, and so we are prepared and will continue to be prepared.
But no, William and Mary has already rescinded.
Okay.
William and Mary has already pulled back their invitation.
Okay,
This
I
is
have to go. I was out of the Senate. Thank you all so much. God bless you.
And we've been listening to Virginia Lieutenant Governor Justin.
Okay, so we're going to end it there. I just want to go back to point number A. Make this man the governor of Virginia. I need black people to really speak up on this. You guys get on social media, tweet about what the hell you ate, your latest outfit, the frickin' Super Bowl. Screw the damn Super Bowl. Okay? This is the real Super Bowl. Let's kick a racist out and get a black man in on the 400th year anniversary of them pulling a black body for slavery in the state of Virginia. Let's do that. Let's just do that. Let's try that out for size. We want to focus on the wrong things. We need to get our minds right with regard to what we are and are not going to put our energy into. I don't care who sang, showed up, played at the Super Bowl. I care about the aesthetics of a push of power in places where it matters. See, if you watched on my other channel me read the words out of something that was published in a medical journal, they are fine with you entertaining them. So that's why who sang at the frickin' Super Bowl doesn't matter. That's why who's running around with the frickin' ball doesn't matter. You can serve, you can entertain, you can shuck and jive for them all day. What they care about is real competition. They said they will annihilate us. This was printed in a Carolina medical journal. They will annihilate us if we try to compete on a real level. So I'm going to need us to focus on what matters. And what matters is the aesthetics of a racist being pushed out of office on the 400-year anniversary of the enslavement and bringing of black bodies to the state of Virginia with a black man, with a black wife, and black children. Yay to that. Let's tweet about that. Let's make some videos about that. Let's focus on that. And with that said, I will talk to you guys later.